So what I was just doing there is actually really exciting for me because I just figured this thing out recently. So basically there's this thing called the harmonic minor scale, and you might be familiar with it, and it kind of sounds like this. It has a very Indian or Middle Eastern kind of sound to it. The entire scale kind of goes something. That's basically the scale. But there's things called scale degrees. You might be familiar with that. And without getting too into it, really, trying to keep it simple. This is the 4th scale degree, which would be like this. Those are the first 6 notes of the 4th scale degree of the harmonic minor scale. First 6 notes. So Yngwie Malmsteen is actually really known for using this scale, and a lot of other people, but he uses it like a lot. And I love it. It's really cool sounding. And so one thing that he likes to do is to use that 4th degree of the harmonic minor scale, and basically he will go up the neck in octaves. So he'll play it like this. So, and then another octave up would be, another octave up would be, and by the way, this is tuned to C sharp. So I'm on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. If you're in E, then it's going to sound different, but just, you know, for the sake of simplicity, I'm on the 3rd fret, 6th string, and then the next note would be the 5th fret. Next note is the 6th fret. Next note is the 4th fret of the 5th string. Next is the 5th fret of the 5th string, and then the 7th fret of the 5th string. So those are the first 6 notes of the 4th degree of the harmonic minor scale. So after you get those down, those notes, then what you want to do is you want to skip to the next octave, which would be starting from the 4th string, the 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret, and then on the 3rd string, the 6th fret, 7th fret, 9th fret, and then you're going to slide up a little bit because, you know, the strings are weird like that. So then it would be on the next octave, would be on the 8th fret of the 2nd string, the 10th fret of the 2nd string, 11th fret, and then on the 1st string it would be 9th fret, 10th fret, 12th fret. So the entire thing would be like, so that's what I was just talking about, the harmonic scale, 4th degree, and then just doing it in different octaves. So this is the interesting thing. So that's a cool scale as it is, and it's really cool to be able to play that because it's it's easier than other ways of playing it because you don't have to move your hand around a whole lot. It kind of stays in the same position. You don't have to go like weird stretches and stuff. It's relatively easy to play in that way, and so it's probably one of the reasons why Yngwie loves to do it so much. He can do like really fast with it. So one thing that I've been noticing, and I was thinking of something that Joe Satriani said one time, and he does the harmonic minor scale every now and then, but he was saying in one of the interviews that I watched that he doesn't do it a whole lot because to him it's not nearly as expressive as like the pentatonic or like the blues scale or something like that. To him it's just not as expressive. And I kind of see what he means. It's like after you do it a while, it's really, really cool. It's a great scale as it is. I love it. But after you do it more and more, you kind of start wanting to experiment with different things. It's like you want it to be more expressive. You want to do different things with it. And so one thing that I've been doing is I've been kind of injecting different scales and different like arpeggios into it to make it more expressive. One of the cool things you can do with that shape is you can turn it into a diminished 7th arpeggio. So basically what you're going to do is you take those 6 notes and you're only going to play the outside corners of it. And when I say that, I mean basically the 1st note, the 3rd note, the 4th note, and the 6th note. You're going to play those notes. In other words, index finger, pinky, index finger, pinky. So the whole shape would be, and then just those outside corners would be, alright? So that's one thing you can do. You can just kind of inject that arpeggio into it, so you can alternate between those two things when you're soloing or improvising or whatever. So or whatever. It just makes it more expressive and interesting, I think, just to change it up more every now and then. And Yngwie also does that, actually. So one thing that I noticed that I actually just discovered pretty recently, that I'm very excited about, is that I noticed that you can basically use a chromatic scale kind of thing, a very chromatic vibe in that. So essentially, within those four notes, those four corners that I talked about, the diminished seventh arpeggio, you can literally use every single note within those four corners. So it has a very chromatic feel. So now you have these other options. Instead of just playing the harmonic minor scale in that kind of way, you can also play the diminished seventh arpeggio, and you can play this very chromatic sounding thing. So you're literally just playing every single note within those four corners. So now you have the opportunity to play the harmonic minor scale with the diminished seventh arpeggio, and you can also alternate to the chromatic kind of sound. I don't think it's the entire chromatic scale, that's why I'm not saying that, but it has a very chromatic feel to it, because it's every single note within those four corners. So you can start doing other things with it, and you can get more expressive. So one thing I would recommend is just to get really good at each thing. So you can get good at the harmonic minor scale itself, and then you can learn the actual scale on your own, or I could put that in another video. And then those the octaves from the fourth degree. And then after that, you can get good at the diminished seventh arpeggio. Just learn how to play that really well, but you can do that all the way up. And then after that, you can start getting really good at the chromatic thing and just practice that more. And then after that, you can start to kind of alternate between the two and see how that feels when you're improvising or soloing. And it's very interesting, and it's really exciting. It's cool because it opens up these doors, and it just feels kind of more like freedom. So you're not just confined to one scale, or one way of playing the scale, rather. You're not even confined to just that and the diminished or seventh arpeggio, which those two things make sense together. But I've never personally heard of people using that chromatic thing within that shape. So it was just really exciting for me to figure that out. I'm sure other people have. I just never really heard about it. So I thought that was really interesting and exciting. And hope that inspires you, and definitely go and play around with it and see what you come up with. Alright, I'll see you.